Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Fab, how are you?
I'm very well. So I'm here at Headstream studio at Desa Potato Head with HAAi, who's just played a banging 1 hour set in preparation for her show at Klymax tonight. How are you feeling about that?
Oh, I'm buzzing actually. Yeah, especially after having a little mix just now. I feel like really, got the, shook off the dust from the week.
Oh, nice. And what does your week look like though? Have you been on tour?
I have been. This is actually my second last date of a 56-day tour.
56 days.
Yeah, it's been a wild run, this one. But it started in Taipei. I went to Taipei, Seoul, and Tokyo, and then played RDC.
Oh, nice.
Or Rainbow Disco Club, for anyone that doesn't know the abbreviation.
How was Rainbow Disco Club?
Exceptional, always. Yeah, I played for them before, and it's like the master and the team are like amazing. And it was a different location to what I'd played previously, but it's like I think maybe this location was bigger. The production is like just out of this world. Sure. Yeah, they do such a good job.
They were here, I think, the following week.
Yes, and I was very sad to have been going in a different direction.
They always put on an amazing show. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. After RDC, where did you go?
Then I went back to Europe. I played in Brussels and did my own party, Unison, in London, and then I was home for about 4 days, and then I went to South America.
Oh, well, there's so much to unpack there. Let's rewind a little bit. Unison, that's a new one, though. That's your new party.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So Unison is like a party brand that I was sort of a little egg that I'd sat on for a while. And basically, I've kind of like done a lot of like curation stuff before. And I thought it would be nice to have somewhere that was like a proper home for it. And I created the sort of brand, I guess, like Unison, which has like a sort of a message about like community and togetherness. And what we did was like it was like a 17-hour party of which I played 9 hours of.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah. I was trying to squeeze a couple more.
So when you say curation, it's you do the lion's share.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm like, if I'm going to be there for 17 hours, I might as well be like DJing.
Fair enough. Yeah. And then how do you go about curating it? So do you, in terms of like the lineup, do you have a sort of feel for how that's going to work in terms of mood and vibe? Absolutely. So the way that it kind of works and what I want to keep as sort of like a loose template for all of the parties is we have for this particular one, it was like an all day long thing where I had sort of like a relatively emerging artist who did the first 3 hours, and then I did 6 hours of back-to-backs with surprise guests. Oh, nice. So it was completely unannounced until they got into the booth. So I had Romy, DJ Boring, Sarah Singer, and Boys Noise. Okay, nice. Yeah, so I did played with those guys like independently for like 6 hours, sorry, and then we had 3 rooms running. So we ran like it was called Submit to Play things for like emerging artists that I just wanted to sort of like give it's always been a high on the priorities list for me, is like sort of using your platform to sort of give people opportunities. Yeah, but nice. We had like 300 submissions for it, and we had 3 spots. So how did you listen to everything? I was touring quite heavily at the time, and I had Alice, my partner, her brother Guy, who does all of my promo stuff for me, and my friend Ty Loken, who she's played here before actually. She was on the bill for the party, and she's got a really good ear for music. And so they basically went through all of the submissions. We did it like a blind listening, and then they made a short list. I was hoping for a short list of like 10 but the mixes were so good we got like 75. So that's a long short list. It was a very long short list, but what it did is allowed me to sort of create a database where once after we'd sort of chosen the people that we wanted to play the event, I was like, I want to kind of do more with this. So we've created a database that I was like, I want to offer to like clubs and festivals that are looking for like, I just think there's so many artists that are like, maybe they don't really get the opportunity to be kind of heard or whatever, but we're like, if they're on this like list, we can just share it. I'd happily share it with anyone. So, and in terms of genre, I suppose it's quite a wide range. Yeah, so we made like some like quite specific notes on each mix, and it was good. It was like once we'd chosen the people, I like went back to suss out like who had sent in mixes, and it was like really there was also some artists that I knew that I've I've been on the road with as well, and it just really sort of proved that there's like a real like hunger for like more shows at the minute. So
for sure. And then in terms of the kind of demographic of the people who was making submissions, was it like a broad spectrum, or was it?
Yeah. The thing is because they were for opening slots, and the thing that I really want to nurture with like emerging talent at the minute is like mastering like a warm-up set. Because I feel like this, you know, it's everyone can beat match fast and sort of this. It's so popular to be playing fast at the minute, but like warming up a room is like so important. And
of course,
yeah. And I came up playing all night long sets.
Yeah.
So the warm up is, you know, has always been like super important to me.
I think, personally speaking, it's probably my favourite set to do. Yeah, but,
same.
Anyway, and so then rewind again. You were in South America.
Yeah. Then I went to Brazil. I played at Time Warp in Sao Paulo, which was excellent. I played before Richie Horton.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Which is nice. We're kind of like old chums, so he's been very kind to me over the years. So it was really nice to see him.
He's been around since the beginning.
Yeah,
Plastic Man stuff, you know.
Totally. Yeah. I think he's sort of Plastic Man's having a bit of a rebirth at the minute, isn't it? Yeah. But he's just so great. I feel like he's such an innovator, and he really gives a shit about the same thing about like people coming through. Like he doesn't gatekeep anything. He's like that's how we became friends, is because he sort of took me under his wing.
Nice to have that, and it's nice that you're paying it forward, should I say?
Literally, it's essential.
Yeah. And so you said you were in Colombia.
Yes, I got this. Got my little tattoos
because it's quite cute.
Yeah, I meant this. I don't know if you can see
maybe.
It properly. Yeah, it's a cat with spots with 6 legs and red cowboy boots, and I got this quite cute little flower couple as well. But yeah, we had a really great day I played in Bogota. I did like a little mini tour with Bicep in South America.
Okay.
Played in Bogota. We did like a show at like an opera house there. Met so many cool people, like made loads of friends, and then played for Tomorrowland, have like a sort of an offshoot festival called Core. So I played for them in Medellin.
Amazing.
And then I flew to Houston from Medellin and got caught in a tornado in a car.
No way.
Yeah, like in an actual twister, driving I got picked up from the airport and we got a tornado warning, and then we were like stuck on the highway there was like a traffic accident.
My goodness, that sounds terrifying.
It was pretty terrifying. It's just like when you think back to when you see sort of the carnage that it causes, I was like, we were really kind of sitting ducks, but lucky that
you're still with us.
Literally, we listened to Khruangbin in the car the whole time.
Okay. While in you say Texas,
it was in Houston in Texas. So
fair enough.
I was very fortunate that the guy that was driving was such a chiller, because I was like. Like it was a kind of before the tornado hit us. I've never seen wind and rain like that.
Right.
Like it was like furious and blowing in all different directions, and but then, so I obviously didn't play that night.
No.
But I played in Vegas the day after that twice, which was a lot of fun. I played at EDC and did the after party, and I finished my set at 9 a.m. and went straight to the airport.
Goodness me! And what was the vibe like in Vegas?
Wild. Before I played, I went to see Shania Twain. I crammed as much in. Yeah. Let's go, girls.
Okay, yeah. Good? Was it good?
It was excellent. I got so much merch.
I bet you.
But yeah, so I kind of I had like 17 hours in Vegas. It was far too brief, but such is life on the road.
Did you sleep for any of it in Vegas?
I didn't know. Because I sort of laid down on my bed for like an hour and a half between Shania and my set. And then I went to play my set, and then I was doing the after party, which I played from 6 until 9 a.m. and then straight to the airport, and then I played 2 sets in Vancouver the next day.
Goodness me. Okay, I'm dizzy. I feel dizzy. Yeah. A little sit down. But okay, so you're here now. You're in Patrizio.
Yeah, I was in Australia between there and here for a couple of shows, but I've finally landed in Bali on Monday night. And
I was going to ask you if it was your first time here, but it's quite apparent it's not your first time here, because you know everybody.
Many hugs.
So talk to me about your history with Potato Head.
I've played for Potato for for a few years now. I think maybe since just before the pandemic.
yeah, and it's like just instantly, like I'd sort of like met a few of the crew like HAAi and stuff years ago, and then yeah, we just sort of became really chummy, and it just felt like a really natural fit. And then when I first started playing here, I have like sort of how the relationship really blossomed was I have a quite a lengthy green policy on my rider. Just yeah, in terms of like just from basic things like no plastic and to like nothing, you know, it's like a trying to minimize waste basically. And even down to like in mainland Europe I only travel by train now.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
that's great. And typically do venues honor your rider?
Mostly, yeah. I think people, you know, it's very topical at the minute as well, obviously. But I think that, you know, I do notice that there's a lot of like, it's difficult because I guess sometimes with like super small venues, if you're going to play, you know, if I'm in like Taipei or like if you're somewhere where it's, or like the regions in the UK, and it's like, you know, sometimes it's like a budget thing, but I think it's just like it's sort of like spurs on a bit of a conversation at least.
Yeah. So that's one of the things you love about Potato Head is the kind of sustainability, circularity stuff that we have.
Absolutely. And so that were like from the first time that I played, they were like, you know, I've done some like some sort of like climate based projects with them, and Dan Mitchell, who was just in here before, we did one last time I was here as well. And it's kind of, it's really nice. I mean, for me, coming here is like such a privilege, and the fact that I get to stay and like play parties and stuff, and it's nice to be able to like give back when you come. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, we're welcome. We're glad to have you here. And
Thank you.
You're playing Klymax tonight.
Correct.
So if anyone's listening now, come to Klymax tonight and hear HAAi play, because it's going to rock, I'm very sure.
I am certain. I saw the club yesterday and I'm actually still just blown away.
Yeah, but
really
you didn't
exciting.
Hear it yet.
I didn't, no, but we were sort of talking before the sound treatment in the room. I've got like I've got a studio back in London. I've like put so much effort and money into treating it. So when you hear a room that sounds like this without music playing, you kind of know that you're in for a win. So.
Zero reverb. You walk in and I walked in, clapped my hands, and it's like, okay, this is a dead room.
Yeah,
much,
fully. Yeah.
In terms of
you could go mad in the silence there, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you spotted it with no music being played in there. So, but I think that's like, the sound system is incredible.
Yes, but I can't wait to hear it on.
The treatment is almost or perhaps as important as the sound system, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the two, I mean, you need, you can have a top tier sound system, but if the sound's bouncing around everywhere or the room's not tuned properly, then you've kind of wasted your money. But I think everything seems to have all been considered with the club, which is really exciting.
Have a good night, I'm sure. Yeah. So let's talk about your production now. You started off first self-releasing.
Correct.
Okay, on your label Coconut Beats.
You've done your research.
I have done my research. Yeah, that's my job.
Fab. That's correct.
Yeah. So how did you find that self-releasing, doing the label stuff? Did you do it all yourself, or did you have help?
I did it myself actually. With a little bit of help from my girlfriend and my management, but essentially it was like I sort of had grand plans for Coconut Beats because it started as a party in at Ridley Road, and then I was like, it was just a nice way to have a bit of like control of my own music, in the first couple of releases, and it's sort of even to where we are now. Like I think when you completely own something yourself and you have total physical and emotional ownership over it. There's been tracks that have done quite well sort of over the last few years and get like syncs and stuff, and it's like it's nice to not have to run it all through a massive label. Yeah,
of course. And is it something that you're going to keep pushing, or?
It's something I've stopped self-releasing because I signed to a label called Mute a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh yeah. Sorry, spoiler. But I've since started with my partner a label for emerging artists called Radical New Theory.
Okay, amazing.
Which is essentially kind of a similar thing of just trying to platform. It started because I used to have a residency on Radio 1, and I was getting sent so much unreleased music by artists that I'd never heard before, and I was like, this is wild, no one's hearing this. So at that time I could play it on the radio, and then I was like, I wanted to do more, so we started R&T.
This is the thing, you see, there's never been more it's never been easier to produce. It's never been easier to self-release. So it's so hard to get heard because there's so much out there, you know. So it's difficult for emerging artists. You know?
Absolutely, and that's why I thought like how we've sort of structured the label is for it to kind of act as like a bit of a springboard or like a tastemaker. So we'll only do one release for each artist, and hopefully, you know, with the hope of them getting eyes on them from other like bigger labels. So.
And will you do physical releases or just digital?
Physical, yeah. Okay. We do like between 1 and 200 hand stamped, hand signed.
There you go. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, and then you ruined my narrative.
I'm sorry. We can segue.
So Mute Records.
Yes.
That's a good look, right? Steeped in electronic music history. So how did that come about? Must have felt pretty good.
Yeah, still feels pretty cool actually. I had a very big meeting with them yesterday about something that we'll talk about later.
Okay.
But yeah, we were sort of courting for a while, I'd say. I'd done some remixes that were released on Mute for Mute artists, and then it was actually one of the guys. There's sort of like the UK office and the New York office, and it was a guy from the New York office that was really like paying attention, I guess, and then it took about a year of like sort of early conversations to me meeting up with Daniel Miller and Joff, who's the head of A&R, and then it turned into an album signing, and now I'm on. I've just finished writing my second album, which is
Okay, so the first album.
Baby We're Ascending.
Yeah, and then before that you did like a big EP, like a mini album.
Called Systems Up, Windows Down.
Yeah. So talk me, were they produced roughly the same time or at separate periods in your life? And
I did Systems Up first, and then pandemic hit, and then I'd sort of like had bits and pieces of what I thought would be an album, and then all of a sudden had just a lot more time on my hands to finish it off, and so that came out in 2022 in May. It's pretty crazy.
Critically acclaimed. Did well.
Did okay. Yeah. There's a couple of bangers on there.
Bangers. So how would you describe your production sound? Because to me it sounds like it is like it's evolving. It's not like so how would you describe it?
It's a really difficult question to ask, to be honest. But I absolutely always evolving. I feel like even with the new record that I've been working on, it's less clubby. Like I sort of go through phases, I think, of making stuff that's really sort of like functional club music, I guess, like my own styling, you know. But and then going like, I want to do something that has a bit more intention as an artist. So the new record is a lot more sort of vocal and lyrical for me, and lots of like frequency moments and, you know, classically me stuff. But it's more of like there's a bit more of like a message in there, I think.
And in terms of your production process, do you typically like have an idea and like, right, I need to get this down, or do you just jam and wait for something to kind of click?
Yeah, it's a really weird, but it's one of those things that I can't remember. Like the sort of like process of like writing is like sometimes you're just so deep in it that you're like, oh, I've written it, you know, and but then you sort of like evolve it, I guess. But it's. In all honesty, I think a lot of my like the sort of better stuff that I've written has been a result of like happy accidents.
Interesting. So you've just kind of channeled it, like, oh look what I just did.
Yeah,
that's great.
And I think like sometimes you might have an idea that's like really bugging you, but I quite often like something that I really enjoy doing is like just playing around with like different like plugins or different like hardware. Processing machines, and then just like it's with no intention in mind, and then sometimes you just feel like, oh, this sounds kind of cool.
So interesting. So not like playing melodies and stuff, it's more like the machines, the effects.
Absolutely. It's like sort of processing, like you might have I'll start off with usually it will be more like textural stuff, and then you sort of like you can sort of hear tonal sounds within that. I don't know. It's difficult to explain it. I feel like the ideas just tend to like grow as you're kind of like playing around. So
interesting. Okay, so and then you used to play in bands, right?
Yes.
And you lived in Australia.
Yeah.
So there's two things I want to ask you. First of all, playing in bands versus producing by yourself. What are some of the differences, the benefits, pros and cons?
Oh, huge. Yeah. I mean, I did my time in bands. I was my whole life and my whole world at the time. And then I think, there's when you're writing with other people and you're sort of like touring as like a smaller band, number one, it's like
you know, really expensive. There's like so much compromise. I think I was really finding myself and my confidence as a musician as well. So I learned a lot over those years. But once I sort of, after that ended and once I found my confidence to write by myself, it's just, I mean, for me, it's just been like a world of change, and the fact that I get to, you know, tour around the world and have like a, you know, pretty lucky life with doing that. And I guess the biggest thing is the fact that I can facilitate music making, which is quite an expensive thing to do if you're like, if you're not touring. And so now it's like one pays for the other. So yeah, it's very, very lucky.
Interesting. And so, yeah, the next point, so you grew up in Australia in a small town, right?
Yes.
And,
tiny.
So how did you access music? Like what were your go-tos, and like where did you listen to new songs and get your inspiration?
It started like actually from my older sister was my first sort of like intro into like even like grunge and post-punk and yeah, and then I guess like once you know, you sort of meet like-minded friends, and then you just learn more over time. But I would say it was like after high school that I really got like deeper into more like post-punk and
when did you
shoegaze, etc.
bitten by the electronic bug?
I would say it was about like 9 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was sort of like just as after my band had split up, and then I went to such a cliched story, but here we go. I took a friend to Berghain. Her visa had run out from the UK, so like we all sort of chipped in and got her a flight to Berlin, and yeah, reluctantly went to Berghain, and then just heard techno exactly how it's meant to be heard for the first time properly. Yeah, and I think like during that time, like I sort of drew a real connection between the music like krautrock and even post-punk and the music that I loved so much, and I was like, oh, this is like not that far, and it was so much more psychedelic than I ever gave it credit for. So yeah, once I sort of slipped down to the dark side, there was no turning back. Okay,
excellent. And do you think you'll ever go back to that kind of, I mean, you probably still incorporate elements of it in your music?
Yeah, I would say
post-punk stuff. And
absolutely. There's always I feel like it's kind of in your DNA a little bit once you've spent that much time making that kind of music. I feel like it definitely has an influence even on how I play. But I don't think I'll be rushing back to join any bands anytime soon.
No, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And then so the next thing I wanted to ask you is there anything that you've got coming up that you want to tell us about? I think I already know the answer, in fact.
Yeah. One of them is my album that's just been finished, which is about to get mixed back in London. So that's like a pretty big project to have finished amongst all of this like mental touring.
What can you tell us about it? Can you tell us anything about it?
I would say it's really like it's a relatively like personal album. I think it's quite like ambitious in the sense that it's like I'm singing on most of the tracks. I've worked with 2 choirs, a string section, and it's like it's certainly not for the club, but I would say it's like yeah, I'm super, super proud of it, and Mute are really excited by it as well.
So choirs and string sections, where did you record those parts?
In different locations actually. One, I recorded a gospel choir just over a year ago in I can't remember the name of the studio. It's quite like a famous old London studio, but which was we had sort of access to, and it was such a beautiful day. And then I recorded another choir in. Where is it? In another part of London, not super far from where I live. It's called the Church Studios.
Okay. Yeah.
And they gave us room 1 to record the choir in there.
Nice.
Yeah, but I've got like Alexis Taylor is on the album again, and I've kind of got a lot of repeat offenders actually. It's John Hopkins and I've collaborated on a couple tracks, and yeah, so I've got Obi Frankie back in there and working with a rapper called Cambu, which we've made a couple tracks already. So yeah, it's a nice like the cast and crew are lovely.
Okay, well, intriguing. And when is it likely to drop?
Next year, like later next year. But I think we'll start to release like the first single in the next few months once everything's tidied up. Exciting.
I'm going to keep an eye out for that, and also very excited about Klymax tonight. But is there anything else you want to tell us before you go?
Just come to Klymax tonight, I guess. Yeah. And I can't wait to come back to Bali. It always feels like a second home here.
And where are you going next?
Tomorrow I'm playing in Singapore.
Okay.
Missing the big show, but
you're missing Erykah Badu live.
Worst time departure, but but to anyone that wants to come through tonight, please come. I'm excited.
Okay, we're excited too.
3 solid hours on the floor.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much for your time. Hi.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Safe travels and good luck tonight.
Wicked.
Okay. Cheers.
See you there, mate.